All right. My screen is blank today because my hair is looking like a hot mess. So, um, just sorry that you won't be able to see my face in the little picture bubble, but I don't even see it right now. So maybe it's not even on your screen. Anyway, so for math today, you are going to turn to page 33 in your workbook. And then I'm going to do a couple of these problems with you. And then you're going to try some on your own, just like we have been. This is very similar to what we've been doing, except now instead of adding, we're going to be subtracting instead. So pretty much all the same steps. The only thing you have to be careful of is which number goes in front, and make sure you subtract instead of add. So let me take a look here. I'm going to have you do number 2 by yourself. So I don't know why it always makes that shape. Maybe I can turn that off somehow. Or actually, you know what I can do? Okay, now let me try. So I'll have you do number 2 by yourself. It's actually better, but let's see if I can make it smaller. Okay, yeah. So number 2 by yourself. Honestly, I'm going to have you do number 3 by yourself as well. I will do number 4 with you. Sorry, my cat's trying to climb on me, so let's see what we can do about that. All right, let me zoom in a little farther and get my annotation tool. All right, so same thing we've been doing. If we look, our denominators are different. So we have to list our multiples of 2 and 5, which I know we've done these ones a lot. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm sure many of you already know the least common multiple here, but we're going to list anyway. And if I look, the one they have in common, that's the smallest, is the number 10. So then I rewrite my fractions. I have 1/2. And I'm going to have that equal to something. And then I have 1/5. I'm also going to have that equal to something. The new denominator is going to be 10 because it's our least common multiple, which makes it our least common denominator, which this helps in the later run once we start simplifying. If you use the smaller one, you're going to be closer to a simpler fraction than if you had the biggest. So then we think 2 times what gets me 10, and 2 times 5 gets me 10, and that means I also need to multiply by 5 on the top, and 1 times 5 is 5. So my 1/2 is the same as 5/10. Then for my 1/5, 5 times what gets me 10? That would be 2. And then 1 times 2 is simple enough, which is 2. So 1/5 is the same as 2/10. So now I have to rewrite this as an actual problem. So if I look in subtraction, the first fraction I had was 1/2, which became 5/10. So that needs to be first. So I have 5/10. And I'm taking away 1/5, which became 2/10. So this is 2/10. And then when I'm adding or subtracting, if my denominators are the same, it's just going to stay the same because I'm working with all 10th size pieces. So if I have 5 of those and I take 2 of them away, I should end up with 3/10 as my final answer. Okay? So get that written on your paper. I'm going to zoom out. Maybe, or actually, nah, it's fine. All right. I was gonna, well, I guess I'll write it. Actually, no, I'm gonna leave that till the end. Okay. So then I will do this number 5 with you as well. So let me get my tool. So if we look, 3 and 4 have different denominators. So I have 3 and 4. So I have 3, 6, 9, 12. Down here I have 4, 8, 12. So 12, which I think many of you are getting used to 3 and 4 having that. Least common denominator is 12, so I'm going to rewrite my fractions as 2/3, and then equal to something and my 1/4. And then the new denominator for these is going to be 12. So 3 times what gets me 12 is 4. And then at the top, I also have to multiply by 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. And then 4 times what gets me 12, that would be times 3. Oops. Oh, hold on. Times 3. And so I have to multiply by 3 on the top. I'm sure many of you are getting the hang of this. 1 times 3 is 3. Now I need to set these up in the correct order. So 2/3 was first, so that became 8/12. So I'm doing 8/12. And I am subtracting from that 3/12. And since my denominators are the same and I'm adding and subtracting, it gets to stay the same, so staying 12. And then 8 and taking 3 of those away would give me 5. So 5/12 would be your final answer here. And most oftentimes, when you are subtracting fractions, you usually end up with the most simplified version of the fraction, but every once in a while you don't. But so far we have. All right, so I'm going to clear that one. And then let me look. I'm going to have you do number 6 by yourselves. That one should be pretty simple. Number 7 is working with the same numbers that we just had. So I'm going to have you do that one by yourself. And then I think actually 8 by yourself, and then I will do number 9 with you. So let me get out my drawing tool. Oops, we should probably zoom in so you can see better. Okay, so we have 10 and 2. So if I list multiples of 10, and actually, let me try this. This might make it easier for you to see too. So if I have 10 and I have 2, and I need to list multiples, this would be 10, 20, 30, 40. And then for 2, I'd be going 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So then if I look and see which one is the same in the smallest, I see 10 is the smallest one in both. So that's going to become my LCM, or my least common denominator as well. So I rewrite my fractions as 7/10, that's a 10, and 1/2. So then my new denominator would be whatever my LCM was, which is 10. So 10 here, 10 here. And I think 10 times what gets me 10? This one's nice and simple. We're just multiplying by 1 on top and bottom. So that one gets to stay the same as 7/10. It's always nice when you get one that gets to stay the same, a little less work. And then 2 to 10 would be times 5. Same up top, 1 times 5 is 5. So then we have to write it in right order. So 7/10 came first. So this one's a little easier to remember the order because this fraction stayed the same. And we're subtracting our 1/2 or our 5/10. When we subtract and our denominators are the same, it gets to stay the same. That's why we just made them the same to make it easier. And then 7 taking away 5 would be 2. Now, I will tell you, this one is not in simplest form. So if I look, I need to think what number can go into 2 and 10, and that would be 2. So that means I need to divide both of these numbers by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So in simplest form, our answer here would be 1/5. 2/10 is still right, but it's not simplified. So 1/5 is the best answer for this problem. All right. And then I think there's 2 story problems on this page maybe. So we're going to check those out. All right. We have Amber. She had 3/8 of a cake left after her party. She wrapped a piece that was 1/4 of the original cake for her best friend. What fractional part did she have left for herself? So I'll do this one with you. So what they're doing is she's had 3/8 left, but then she wanted to take, well, she took and she wrapped up 1/4 of that for her friend, so we want to know what's left for her. This is a subtraction problem, but our denominators are different, so we need to go and list our multiples of 8 and 4 because those are our 2 denominators. So we're going to do 8, 16, 24, 32, and then we have 4, 8, 12, 16. So if I look at this, I think some of you might notice they both have 16 in common and they have 8 in common. But remember, we're always looking for the smallest. So 8 would be smallest here. So I have 8. So that means I'm taking my 3/8 and setting it up equal to a new fraction. Oops, lost my drawing tool. And then also I'm doing the same thing with my 1/4. And then that new denominator we just found would be 8. And if we look, 8, it's already there, so this is multiplying by 1. So this fraction does not need to change, lucky us. And then 4 to 8 is just times 2. Oops. And same thing up top, 1 times 2, it's simple, is 2. So now I just need to make sure I rewrite it in the same order. So it was 3/8 first. So 3/8. And from that, I'm taking away my 1/4, which was 2/8. And when I subtract, my denominator is going to stay 8s because I'm working with all 8s. And if I take 3/8 from 2/8, that leaves me with 1/8 of the cake left. So that would be 1/8 as a final answer for this story problem. So I'll get that written down. And then I am going to have you do the last story problem by yourself, but I will walk you through it a little bit. So it says Wesley bought, wow, that's hard to see. I think it's a half. Yeah, 1/2 pound of nails for a project. When he finished the project, he had 1/4 a pound of nails left. How many pounds of nails did he use? So they're just saying that Wesley started with a half, and then he used up some amount, and he ended up with 1/4. So to find the difference in there, we do 1/2 minus 1/4 to find our answer, which I would like you to find because you should be able to do so using those exact same steps. So if I zoom out just a little bit, oops, forgot to clear. I will leave that circled for you, maybe, there we go. So you need to do number 11 as well. You do not need to worry about number 12. That's not really my concern. So yeah, this one's just 1/2. I can rewrite it for you. And we're subtracting 1/4. Does not look like a subtraction sign. And then you are finding me, oops, the new answer here. Okay. All right.